These two excerpts are of Jimmy Kay sharing at a recovery meeting in 1962.
Jimmy, you want to see him?
Yeah, I was going to get right down to the basis of our program. We talk about recovery from this seemingly hopeless addiction, okay? No matter what it might happen to be, whether it's pills or junk or booze or what it is. But any of us who have reached this point in our particular addiction have reached the end of the line for most of us where we no longer want to do the things that we were doing. Now, some of us may not have gone as far as another. Some may have gone a lot further than another. This is the individual. But you can't cut it off whenever you've had enough. This is the main thing that we talk about. You don't have to go all the way. Now, this program is specifically to take care of the obsession. The only way we personally take care of the compulsion is to stop using. The only time we need anything, actually need something, is while we're using. After you take a fix, you need some more. But when you're clean for a while, when you've cleaned up, and your thinking gets a little bit straightened out, you no longer need. The compulsion is gone. This program can take care of the compulsion, because this is the sensitivity of the body to the drug, whatever it might be. Once having started, we can no longer quit. We are not the boss. But through using the principles of this program, as we understand them, and as we hear them explained to a point where they make sense to us, and then we're willing to try them, we're able to get around the obsession. Now, the obsession isn't just one thing. The obsession actually is made up of many things. Explain. The obsession is made up of many things, but the main obsession that we talk about so much of the time is the idea that somehow, someday, I'm going to be the unique guy who will be able to use and control it. I'll be able to have the fun that did go with it, the kick that went with it, the ease that went with it, but I'll be the only guy that'll be able to do it. Okay? These other guys, maybe they can't do it, but I can. This is an obsession. In the face of facts, we continue to try something that we know we can't do. Now, this is very hard to understand, even among ourselves, and yet we've gone through it time and time and time again. You know, you're beating your head against the wall, and you say, why did I start again? Why? Because the things that were in it had never been removed to make it any different. Now, they say this is a new way to live, a new way of life, and it's exactly that. There are many people who may have the obsession to use for years after becoming the program, and occasionally it might hit you. But if you once get on what we call a spiritual footing, not a religious footing, although if you want to go into religion, that's fine too, you know, it's up to the individual. What we call the spiritual footing. We've had enough of the old way of life, we want no more of it. If we once make this decision and then begin to weed out all the reservations in that first step, the reservation that, well, maybe I can blow a little weed, you know, every second Tuesday of the month. Nobody be any wiser. It won't hurt me. Or I can take a few pills now and again when I'm down the beach or when I go visit my aunt somewhere and get away with it when we know we can't. But the Big AA book brings out the same idea, and we laugh at it, about the jaywalker. And it's exactly the same way of thinking. The jaywalker who would continually run out from the street in front of cars, in front of fire engines, in front of trolley cars, just for the thrill of beating them. See? Eventually one day he got hit, landed in the hospital. For a couple of days he gets out and he does the same thing again. You say, this guy is nuts. And yet this is exactly what we do. We keep doing it again when we know we can't. Well, we can't. So we have to completely surrender on that first step. And the decision that we make within ourselves to completely give up the idea that never safely use drugs, except in those cases talk about one in the hospital, where under proper supervision, knowing your doctor, letting your doctor know exactly where you stand, making sure that you will be put withdrawal if you're on drugs for any length of time before you leave the hospital, see? Making sure of all these things. that's a little different story. But as for ourselves, we can never prescribe drugs for ourselves and safely get away with it. We'll be back in that old rat race. Compulsion sets in again and we're gone. And we won't stop until we've had it, one way or another, you know. And these are the things that I learned first on this program that I gave a lot of thought to. The other things I didn't worry too much about. I heard them all. Rest, proper feeding, take vitamins, do this, do that, do the other. I did none of them. Believe it or not, did none of them, except one thing. And Mel mentioned at the end of that few words he said, one of my big obsessions, and one of the big obsessions of most of them, is obsession with myself. My thoughts are always about me, how things affect me, what my relationship is with me, with other people, with my boss. I take everything so personal. Okay? Complete obsession with myself. I want my own way. I'm very sensitive. I'm easily hurt. Blah, blah, blah. I go on down the line. You know, everything to me. I'm at the center of everything. When we begin to think of somebody else and try to help another person, go out of our way maybe to try to do something for somebody else, not necessarily another addict, anybody you meet, doesn't make any difference, do some little thing, then we begin to get away from ourselves, and we'll stop looking at drugstores and we'll stop thinking about it. The obsession will leave, Sam. Believe me, it will leave completely, and as long as we stay on a firm spiritual footing for ourselves, as we believe we should live, in the way we want to live, and eventually it comes to that. This is the way I want to live. The obsession will completely leave.
Jimmy?
I want to say, you know, we're that small group of people that seem to fit into every nationality, every race. But actually, we are different. We are different from other people. There's no doubt about it. You know, we take devious means to get away from the status quo, the life that's being lived in any particular place. Now, my background in no way reflects some of the things you've heard here tonight. My childhood, we're clean up. Couldn't have been better. Couldn't have been better. No reason for me to try to run away. No reason for me to feel rebellious. And while I'm on that, there's three reasons why most of us try drugs in one form or another, or booze. One is our need to escape. We're the real escape artists. Now, many of us progress into this in our addiction. We pick this up later on. Many of us are... Society never rejected me. I rejected everybody in society from the time I was a kid. For what reason, I never fully understood. Because everything was fine around me. But that rebelliousness was always in me. I rebelled against everything, and I still do to some extent. And the last, some of us fall in the category of people who just cannot overcome a certain craving for certain things. They don't seem to fall into any of the other two. But eventually, if we keep it up in its progression, it brings us all three. We're rebellious against people, places, and things. We're trying to escape from what is what, the things we don't like, and even from some of the things we do love. We reach that point because of guilt, self-pity, all the things that have been mentioned here tonight, resentment, hostility. And the last one is about the hardest to understand. The people who just for no reason at all, they'll be doing fine, they just pop off. So what were you thinking about? I don't know. It just pop. There's something there. But wait a second. But you see, none of these things are really important to us. Because when we come to this program, we're supposed to learn something. And very often we only do the minimum just to stay clean or to stay sober. And we're very unhappy. Sometimes we're really miserable. We don't seem to be getting anything out of it. And we forget that even when we take something from ourselves, never mind what we feel other people have taken from us, or the program has taken from us, we have to put something in its place. If you don't put something in its place, you're going to go back to the old way. If I don't keep repeating my new ideas that I've learned on this program, and keep practicing these new principles, I'm going to take up my old practices. There is no doubt about it. I'll fall into my old patterns right off the bat. And it gets harder, actually, as time goes on, to make these little honesty decisions, rather than easier. believe it or not.
Oh, I know that.
But the main thing is to put something in place of what you take away. And the only thing will rid us of the obsession is the practice of the principles of this program.